Welcome back to Navitech. In this episode, I'm going to talk about smart home devices, since for a while, smartphone devices have been getting more and more popular. Let's get into it. Are you better than Siri?
It's hard to compare. We're like apples and oranges, because Siri works for Apple, and I like oranges.
So, smart home devices have been out for a long time, and Amazon's really been leading the charge on them. Google also, but right here I have the Amazon Echo Dot 4th Gen. And you might be wondering why this one's $50, while something like this, the all-new Apple HomePod Mini, is $100 when they, pretty much look the exact same. And this one works on Android and iOS, whereas this one is limited to iOS. So that's an interesting question, and we're going to cover that today. So partly why this one costs more is because it's Apple, so you do actually have to pay more for Apple products. And then this guy is Amazon, and Amazon's really good at cutting prices on their products, since they sell so many that it doesn't matter quite as much for them as it would for Apple. Let's say Apple only sells a couple thousand of these, or even less, and then Amazon sells a ton of these ones where they can cut down on the price a lot more. So something like the Apple product right here is going to be more expensive, and that's partly to keep their premium name. But then also, if you just look at the two, I think most people would agree that this one looks a little bit better than this one. And then there's the sound quality, and the sound quality on this is a little bit better. But, I mean, if you have them at max volume, then that could matter, but most people don't, so it doesn't matter quite as much. So then, why is there cheaper smart home devices, and then there's more expensive ones, like Apple's, or even Amazon's more premium ones? So, something like this costs almost as much as Amazon's super high-end, or at least their maximum highest quality audio product, just the normal Echo. So that is a good question, and it's partly because, as I said earlier, it's Apple, and they want their product to be more premium. So Apple, a couple of years ago, did try to get a really high-quality speaker that was large, but that thing just really didn't work out. It was called the HomePod. This is the HomePod Mini, so I think Apple's now trying to correct that and go with a smaller speaker that costs 1/3 of the price. So now that Apple has discontinued the HomePod, I think they were trying to get high sound quality in this, but if this costed $50, then it wouldn't be much of an Apple product. It would be way too cheap and almost seem like it's in the budget category, like something like this Echo Dot 4th Gen is. So I think Apple is trying to keep their premium branding on their speakers, and that's why you see their speakers much more expensive than something like this. But I think the funny thing about this speaker is that, it just costs a lot, and this one is a lot cheaper, but Amazon's higher end offerings, which actually have better sound quality than this, cost about the same. So it's kind of funny to see that. And I mean, yes, this doesn't look quite as premium as Apple's one, but their higher end ones look a lot better. So it's interesting seeing that, and I just personally think that they're not gonna sell very many of these, and that's a little bit of a bummer. Now, the next thing I think that could be a problem with the HomePod is that it's only available. You can only use it with an iOS device, so an iPhone or an iPad or something like that. Whereas this is available on iOS and Android, so you just have to get the Alexa app. So that's another, a little bit of a downside for this also. So, do I think that this is going to sell a lot? I don't think so, and I don't think Apple's strategy is going to work that well, even though they do keep the premium branding. I just don't feel like sound quality and this is just so much better that it should cost twice as much as something like this. So overall, I don't think Apple is going to be able to succeed in this branding of itself as super premium with their smart home speakers, since I think people just want a ton of smart home speakers and they want them to be cheaper. So I don't know if it'll quite work, especially since the lack of availability on Android devices, as something like a Google Assistant or an Echo would work on both devices. So it's a little bit of a bummer for Apple, and I just don't quite think that this thing can sell as well as something like this thing. But I think Apple actually had that in mind, and I think this will sell a lot better than something like the original HomePod, and that makes a lot of sense just because of its cheaper price tag. And some of the features, if you do have an iPhone, that this has are a little bit better than the features that if you have an iPhone or Android device that this thing will have. But taking into account that 2 billion people use Android devices, it's going to be a lot of lost customers that they could have had if they had allowed it to be on Android also. And since this thing is compatible on both, it's just kind of going to be a little bit hard for Apple to sell this device, especially since this thing doesn't have 50% of the audio quality as this thing, but it does cost 50% of the price. So Apple's strategy might not work out just because one of these things costs $100 while one of these things costs $50. And you might be like, yeah, $50 is a lot of money, but if I'm investing in something that I'll probably keep for 10 years, why not? Well, the thing about these products is you might want to buy 10 of them just because you're supposed to have them in each room so you can make messages go across the house and also just play music anywhere you are. So then when you're buying 10 of these, that's going to cost $1,000 versus $500 for this one. So when you start adding up the money, then it's going to become a lot of money, especially if maybe you do want to upgrade them every 5 years. That's going to be a lot more than just buying 10 of these versus 10 of these. So that's something to consider, and that's partly why I think Apple's device won't sell as well. And also, Alexa is a little bit more mature than Siri and works a little bit better. So when you factor all those things in, and also the fact that 2 billion people use Android devices, so that's excluding 2 billion people, then it starts to look like this is a pretty good bargain, whereas this one's just an expensive alternative. So I don't think Apple's strategy will really work out. I think they need to come out with a cheaper smart home device, and then also they need a mature Siri. And then I know Apple will probably never do this, but give it compatibility with Android devices also. So overall, it's pretty amazing to see how all of these companies are jumping into the smart home device area, but I just don't think Apple can compete, and Google Assistants and Alexa are just going to really be the dominators for a while till Apple can mature Siri and give it a lot more features. Thanks for watching. If you like this, please subscribe. Anyway, catch you later. Cut.